All right, we're live at 720p because I'm using the free version of Restream this time because people sent it to me and they're like, hey, you can use Restream instead of, uh, you know, just bumming around on YouTube, and we'll see how it works. That's the best I can offer. It's Sunday afternoon, so we're doing the Sunday afternoon chat. I don't even think I named this chat. I think I just decided I was going to do a Sunday chat since I'm in the room working on some stuff. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm cutting foam containers for my miniatures so that they're big enough to fit my little horsies, because I got a lot of horsies. So I might have to actually cut more than just one container because, like I said, got a lot of horsies. Got to keep my horsies safe. I mean, because every cowboy knows uh, you are nothing without your cuña. Oi, Marus, Marus. Oi, Marus, Menya. Let's go to chat and see if anybody's even in chat. Okay, there's a chat. There's an overlay. I wonder what that is. Oh, it puts the chat in the stream. Interesting. Not sure that I, really care about that, but still learning some stuff. I mean, what's crazy is that the stream software for Restream, if you want to go pro, is like $19. Whereas Studio Yard or whatever I was using is $88. Do I need some coffee? No, I don't need any coffee because I have sugar-free Monster Mango. Why, do I look tired? I mean, I am tired, but do I look tired? Yeah, that song I was singing is a song begging Father Frost not to kill me or my horse. Morose Frost. So it's Oi Malrose, Malrose. Oi Malrose, Menya. Parabo, Cunha. Yeah, so I'm probably screwing some of the lyrics up there, but yeah. Please don't kill me and please don't kill the horse. Look a little tired. Well, I got up early because, Sunday. So up early. I'm up early in the morning and in bed early at night. Because to do my job, I got to be well rested. Yeah, MFer, you heard what I just said. Because I'm just a regular, everyday, normal guy. Nothing special about me, MFer. A regular, everyday, normal guy. Once a week, my mom likes to cook me dinner. Regular, everyday, normal guy. Right? Dealing with regular, everyday bullshit. Right? My favorite song is the song from Titanic. And I don't like to admit it. Why the fuck did Leonardo DiCaprio have to die? Well, it's an everyday life. That guy's from where Bear lives. John LaJoy. Yeah. Montrealer. So if you want to be mad at me for singing that song, be mad at Bear because he's from the same place. So anyway, I think if I understand this, I can actually invite people to join me. But how do I do it? Is it this thing? Invite up to 6 guests, but how? Okay. I've never used this before, but let's see. There's left. Let's see what I can do. I can block him. I can put him in timeout. No, I don't want to do that. I also don't want to respond to him. I think if I put the link in to chat, and then if somebody wanted to join, they could hit the link. I think that's how this one works. Hi, James. I'm sitting in a little greasy spoon waiting for my all-day breakfast. Thought I would stop in and say hi. Hey, always a pleasure, sir. Always a pleasure. You, in my opinion, are living the dream. Like, if I didn't have the kids and the wife, I would be living on my mountainside. I've already planned it out. I even told my wife, like, if something ever happened to her, I'm going to buy for like $10,000, you know, those little like sheds that they sell with the expectation that you're going to keep tools in them. I'm going to buy one of those and I'm going to convert it into like a tiny home. And I'm going to have it drug up the hill, even if I have to make a trailer and drag it up with my mom and dad's Polaris. And because they've got a side by side, you know, drag that joke up to the top of the mountain and find me a good place right in the middle of the forest. You know what I mean? Where it'll fit without interfering too much with the forest around it. And that will be where I will end my days. And it would be awesome because it would be so close to my mom that, like, you know, if I needed anything for real, I could just like roll down to the house and be like, hey, you know, I need whatever it is I need, you know. And and know that, you know, someone would be there, but you know, which I guess means I would end up getting rid of like the majority of my games and everything. I'd probably keep a couple books to read, game books. And then I would probably also I would keep all of my, you know, books of the saints and everything for sure. So it would definitely be a huge simplification of my life because, you know, I would be like, I have so many of these guys. Oh, Leth can't get his mic to work. Sorry, Leth, bro. That's okay, though. It's okay. I have so many of these. Like, If you misplaced them, we would just get a new one. These are paramedic shears, and I actually have a thing that goes on your belt that you can tuck a couple pairs of gloves, your shears, just some stuff you might need. Yeah, I would just get, how you can see at like Walmart or on the side of the road, they're always selling those sheds and they're like 12 by 6 or 12 by 8. I would buy one of those sheds, insulate it. That would be the first thing. Insulate the hell out of it. And maybe I'd have to get some tin so that I could do one corner in tin. And that would be the corner I'd drill the hole to put the, so that I could have my wood burning stove and not have to worry about burning myself alive, because that would suck. Even though, honestly, it would be a little bit of irony too, wouldn't it? But yeah, put a nice wood burning stove in it, and a bed and a bookcase. And I feel like that's all I would need, And for books, I would take all of my prayer books and my books that were written by saints and church fathers and whatnot. But I would probably also take my Talislanta books and my AD&D books and probably my OSE books. But no, I'd have to take my 2,300 books too. But then everything else would go. Everything else would go. It would be like super simplification of everything. Now, my miniatures I could probably take because I keep them in these kind of, I'll show you these boxes I buy. I've tried a lot of boxes, and these are the ones that I tend to like the best for just storing random miniatures. They look like a tackle box, and they hold, your foam, whatever. And they're relatively cheap compared to other boxes. And while this one's not going to hold a lot of miniatures because I'm, cutting it out so that it can hold cavalry figures, your average box holds like 100 plus. So they're pretty good. I was watching Shadow and Son last night talk about sci-fi stuff with Justin. Pretty neat. Pretty cool. I have a hard time being on his show, though. Not because I don't love Shadow. I like Shadow. I even like Justin, even though sometimes I worry that, he'll never get over the Mossad stealing his bicycle. But when it comes to sci-fi, it turns out that I'm like an asshole and you would never want me on your show, basically. Oh, you didn't see the box? Yeah, these cost like $29. It's a big plastic box with the, whatever. And it holds 3 of the foam things in it. So unless you're doing infantry, it holds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times 4. So what is 9 times 4? That's 18 times 2. So 6, 36. No, or is it 36? Yeah, 36 And there's 3 in there. So 36 times 3. That's oh, Leth got his mic working. Okay, Leth. I believe you hit the Restream thing, and then it should pop you up that you're in the background waiting to be added. And if you are in the background waiting, then I need to figure out how to check out the background. Oh, there you are. So there's Leth. And the shit is not easy to figure out. There you are.
I guess that's how that works. That's a little bit weird,
That
too.
is how that worked. I figured it out, Leth, all by myself.
It puts me in a little corner, at least on the Restream side of it.
Well, because I have it set up like that.
Oh.
But you ain't even got a picture of yourself, so why do you care?
Yeah, my camera also broke.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not like you're all like, no one can see me. There's nothing to see.
Me.
You know, you're not. You're like a disembodied voice, kind of
I
hanging
used to have a
out, being
camera.
like,
I didn't think it would break last time I was on stream, but it happens.
It does, because everything we buy is built to break.
Well, usually, what was it? An LG doesn't break that often. I'm surprised actually on that one. I think it was LG.
But I'm just being whatever. But yeah, I was talking to the OG.
Oh, Logitech. That was it. Logitech.
Yeah, Logitech's generally pretty good.
Yeah.
It
might have just been that I had too short of a cord for that one, though. I mean, that thing, I had to stretch that cord out just to get it to where I needed it.
And let me tell you something. If you stretch your cord out, the copper wiring on the inside of the cord will break.
Yes.
And then once that happens, forget about it. Pack it up. You're done.
Shorten the wire.
Yep. You're done. It's over. So long. Goodbye. Afreed. Adieu. Well,
next time if I buy another webcam, I'll make sure to get a longer cord.
The hills are alive with the sound of Griswold. We've been singing this shit for a very long time.
Well, otherwise, yesterday DM tried to get this new group together that we were going to play that new, well, not really play the new game, but get our characters sorted out.
Right. Didn't work?
So, nobody came except for me. So, others were gone for that time when he tried.
Well,
so maybe next time.
If I ever run a game online, you will be one of the first to know, bro.
Yeah, okay.
Might be fun to run a game of Traveler 2300.
Maybe.
Well, how do you feel about Traveler, but like good Traveler?
I don't know. I don't know much about Traveler.
Have you ever watched the TV show The Expanse?
Nope.
Okay, picture playing a sci-fi game, except all the science is actually plausible. It could happen. That's fair. That's basically what we're talking about. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So if somebody's like, let's say somebody uses a weapon and pops a hole through your ship, it's not that big of a deal. All you need to do is grab some like glue and a patch, and you can just glue a patch on. You'll be fine. because it turns out all that, getting sucked through a hole out in the space bullshit is bullshit. That's not
Yeah,
the way it works.
no, it should have been obvious, but I mean, there would be the issue of, losing oxygen.
Yeah, you'll lose oxygen, which sucks, but literally a person could run up and stick their hand over the hole to seal it. But then the problem is the hand where it touches space would freaking um like freeze.
Yeah.
Cal, I got them off of Amazon, and every now and then they have like an Amazon sale where you can get them really cheap. I have currently one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight of them. I have eight of them that I've collected over the years, and they are decent. Each one carries 100 miniatures, which is generally more than most people even own. But of course, I'm that guy, so And yeah, so you just freaking pop the what's it out, the little foam things out, and put your figures in there. And right now, I'm getting some of the figures that are done, or mostly done, off the table. So I'm going to put them in a box, and then that'll allow me to work on primering some figures that I don't want to get covered in primer stacks. Because that is an issue when you do hand primer with Vallejo. And of course, I'm going to be using this Vallejo white. If you have any figures on the table and you're not careful, I'm that guy. 15,000 minis. Yeah, right. Same. So,
I don't really have many, sadly.
well, I would have to definitely, if I were going to move up into the hillside, like I'm saying, I would definitely have to get rid of all of my like Iron Kingdom figures because let's be honest, that game's probably never coming back. It had a good run. People liked it, but I heard they had a third edition and then they tried to do this whole doing dishes. I bought a dishwasher for my dishwasher. So she don't like when I say that, but I say it all the time. I bought a dishwasher for my dishwasher. She also gets upset when I tell people I'm getting ready to put a load in the dishwasher. Because it's like, what's he talking about? Take that in many, many ways. You know what I mean? Like, is he being dirty? It's okay to be filthy with your own wife, though. That's a good thing about having a wife. If you want to be a dirty minded bastard and say dirty shit, it's okay. You married her. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
outside of a couple of things, once you get married, it's no hold barred, man. You can just go nuts. Get your freak flag on. And statistically, married Christian conservative couples have more um, enjoyable sex lives than the opposite. So there you go. So one more reason to become a conservative Christian. We have bare sex. So am I listening to my wife talking about boobs with her sister? It's like I mean, what? Oh, they're discussing how their mom had small boobs, and that's why their boobs aren't really big. Women are weird, man, because my daughter will come over and complain about how she didn't get my wife's booty. But my daughter is like, a double D or a triple D in the chest. So then it's like you've got women complaining about, like dudes never do that. You never see two dudes hanging out. One dude's like, man, I wish my penis was as big as yours. I mean, that's just not a conversation you're ever hearing. But chicks will, go into this whole thing about, sure, it's more complicated than why. Coded misogyny. Yeah, right. Coded misogyny. Look, I don't code my misogyny. I wear my misogyny right out there in the open. Sometimes it pisses my wife off, and then I tell her to remember her place. I'm her husband. See what I just did there? Actually, sometimes I do that. She don't like it either. But we'll be getting into something, and she'll say something that kind of pisses me off, and I'll be like, "Hold on, woman. Did you forget who you're talking to?" And she'll be like, "What do you mean?" And I'll be like, "I'm your husband. You don't talk to me that way." And she'll be like, "Well, okay, yeah, you're right." Because she's as conservative as I am, if not more so, probably more so, honestly. Like, me, I'm the kind of conservative that's, I guess, more libertarian. I'm the kind of guy that's like, as long as you're not effing with me, I really don't care what you do. You know what I mean? That's kind of my stance on the whole thing. If you are not making my life harder, I don't care. But the second you start making my life harder, I start caring a lot. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, done. Done with this shit. Not having it. And my wife, on the other hand, she's the kind of person that talks about if shit don't straighten up, doing stuff that could be considered violence. And I'm always like, calm down, little lady. Why are you so violent? It's like, what happened to you? That made you so freaking. I think it's just Danish blood makes him evil.
So you're saying that being Danish is like being evil?
Well, I mean, look, they're the people who invented taxation, so right off the bat, they've got that going against them. When they realize that you can raid people and take all their shit, but you can only do that one time. But if you raid them just a little bit every now and then, you can do that for basically forever, right? And thus, taxation. The whole, pay us X amount of Dane Geld every year and we'll go away for a while. But if the payments stop, we're going to come back and you're not going to like it. And that shit went on for like centuries, man. Centuries. They're still fighting about that trans person who got elected to Congress wanting to use the girls' bathroom. And like all the women are like, no. And like, it's like, and people are like, well, your bathroom at your house is like, multi-gender. And it's like, yeah, but you're only in there one at a time. That I think is the issue. It's not that a person can use a bathroom that another person uses. Yeah, slave taking ants did it millions of years before we did. And they do take slaves. Ants are. Now, here's a question, Kyle. I don't know if you're interested or not, but I'm going to ask you this question. How does a creature that barely has a nervous system know to do everything ants do? Like spiders, ants are one of my favorite things to just look at and think about, and because when you get down to it, ants, bees, all the communal insects are like amazing. They're amazing creatures because they do things that you wouldn't think a creature that barely has a nervous system could ever do. And yet they do. And it makes me wonder how. Like, and maybe it's just me being a complete idiot. That's entirely possible. Let's not rule me being a complete idiot out, right? But the point I'm kind of making is just
Sound. Uh, oh. What happened to your audio? It's on. We can't hear you, man.
how about there we go.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. I've never used this before, so apologies, guys. Not that I had much of a my hot take for today, and most of you don't give a shit about it, but this is my hot take for today. If you're not playing 2300, you're playing Traveler wrong. And if that offends you, bring it. But that's just the way it is. You get two ways to play Traveler. You can play Traveler as it is in the book, or you can play Traveler using the 2300 expansion. And the fact of the matter is, if you're not using the 2300 rules, you're just playing the game wrong. And I know people hate when somebody tells them they're playing a game wrong, but I'm going to tell everybody in the world they're playing the game wrong. So, right? If you're playing a space game and your starships can just randomly do stupid shit, yeah, you're are you? I mean, that's not even sci-fi. Traveler is like science fantasy. It's like get the f out of here. If you want to play
Yeah.
sci-fi, play sci-fi. Play a game that is actually rooted in actual scientific bullshit. And I don't mean like Neil deGrasse Tyson science either. I mean real science. Because no one gives a shit what that guy thinks about anything. I saw him getting his ass ate alive by Bill Maher the other day,
Oof.
and I didn't even
That's sad.
and I didn't even care. I was just like, whatever.
Whenever Bill Maher's making you look like an idiot.
Well, because the problem with that knucklehead is that he is, like I've said before, a celebrity scientist.
Yeah.
And celebrity scientists, by and large, are idiots. They don't actually know shit. It's like how every idiot on the planet will be like, they'll talk about Stephen Hawking's, right? Stephen Hawkins sucked. He was not in the top 100 of actual physicists, and he postulated a hypothesis that was so wrong that had he been right, it would have destroyed physics. And then it took him 35 years to finally admit he was wrong, you know, because he was trying to argue that information, which is basically the short word for everything, was destroyed in a black hole. But the whole point of physics is information cannot be destroyed, it can only be altered.
Yeah.
So, you know, energy becomes something else, right? Mar isn't stupid, he's just dishonest. Yeah, exactly. He's not a dumb guy, but he's going to go with the wherever the wind blows. Kind of like Morning Joe and his freaking wife. It's like they know that the studio they work for is going bankrupt. So, of course, they go to Mar-a-Lago and try to suck up the Trump. Because, you know, and look at all these people. Okay, we're going to get a little political, I guess. You know, 2 weeks ago, they were saying Trump was a Nazi and the worst thing to ever happen to the world. And now they're sitting next to him and eating dinner. It's like something ain't making sense here. Because, I mean, you know, if he was actually everything you said he was, then how is it that now all of a sudden you're sitting here next to him eating dinner? It's like, what's going on, right?
Yeah.
It's like, but the worst person on TV beyond a shadow of a doubt, and I don't watch her, I only see her in clips that other people make saying how she's the worst person on TV, is Joy Reid. Joy Reid is absolutely the worst human being on television. She is terrible. The stuff she says, if you took the word white out of it and replaced it with black, she would absolutely get fired if she weren't black. Like, she is such a freaking blatant racist. And she's allowed to get away with it, you know. Jose, right, right. After about 35 years, Stephen Hawkins finally admitted that his theory was wrong. And yeah, both Joys do the opposite of their names. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Behar and the other
Green.
one, they're like terrible, just terrible. At least one thing I'll say about Bill Maher, and I don't even like Bill Maher, but I will give him this much credit. When he invites a guest on, most of the time he actually listens to the guest, and then they talk about stuff. But with the cows at freaking The View and all of that, they are not interested in anything. Anyone who disagrees with them specifically has to say about anything. There's no like let's hear what the other side has to say, try to debunk them, which a lot of times Bill Maher invites people onto a show that's way smarter than he is, and then he gets made to look like a jerk because he tries to argue a point. Like when he invited Jordan Peterson on and he started talking shit, and Jordan Peterson just kind of ate him alive. And Jordan Peterson is not a conservative. A lot of people think he is, but he's not. He is a Canadian, center left.
Yeah.
But anyway, um, yeah, ants are super interesting. Again, going back to what we were talking about before I said the hot take, because they shouldn't be able to do the stuff that they do logically. I mean, logically, they should not know, because a human baby doesn't know anything. And until it reaches a certain age, then it can be taught things, right? But like humans don't have an instinctual pre-programming to build a road or whatever. We don't. It had to happen slowly over, tons of times. We had to figure shit out, actually sit and use our greatest tool, our brain, to figure things out, right? Ants come right out of the egg already knowing exactly what in the F they're supposed to be doing. Yeah, he's like a classic liberal, you're kind of center leftist guy. Uh, don't tread on me, free speech, uh, don't tell me what to do, blah, blah, blah. And that has always amazed me. And I've never had it explained to me in a way that I thought was adequate how that happens. Like, how does a bee come out of the egg and automatically know it has to go out and gather pollen from flowers and then bring them back?
I don't know. It just does.
Yeah, but how? That's the philosophy of it. It's like, yeah, it just does is the easy answer and not untrue.
I mean, how do magnets work?
Well, that's a miracle. Duh. I mean, ask ICP. They'll tell you. Magnets are a miracle. No, actually, magnets are not a miracle. We actually do know exactly how they work.
I know. I just had to make that joke.
But that was a funny song, though, that you're quoting. Ants have a complete metamorphosis. Well, I mean, they start out as larvae and then they pop out, and 99. Hey, Bastille, how you doing, bro? 99% of them are females, and like probably less than 1% are males. And the males just kind of hang out until it's time to go out and reproduce. And then I've not read that, or maybe I have and I just don't know I have. Um, I think I think I might have read some of his stuff because when I tell people that money doesn't exist, I might be quoting him because money doesn't actually exist. It's just a means by which we can do barter in a much more efficient way. But, you know, anything can be money. You can be on like a tropical island where money is certain seashells. You can be in Europe or, the East there where money is gold coins or silver coins. You can be in China where they made all their coins out of brass. But the value of the coin was determined by, the shape or whatever of the brass coin. You could be in Japan where the actual unit of money was rice, a koku, but then they made coins that represented a koku and then increments of a koku. But the coins, which were made out of brass, they weren't even made out of anything like valuable. It didn't matter because the whole point of the coin was that represented rice. One koku is the amount of rice it would take to feed one person for 1 year. So a samurai working for a daimyo would be given an amount of koku as payment to support his household. Hey, James Lowry, how you doing, bro? Yeah, it's a medium of exchange, but it doesn't actually. It's like it makes the barter system easier, but at the end of the day, it's still barter system. Because I give you, say, dollars for a thing, and then you take the thing to get the thing you want with the dollars. Whereas if there were no dollars, then you would have to trade me something to get the thing and then go to the other guy and try to figure out what to trade with him to get whatever you wanted. And it would just be a nonstop. I have to trade deer hide to this guy to get an antler, and then I got to trade an antler to this guy to get a bushel of peas, and then I got to pay the bushel of peas to this guy to get some peaches, and then at the very end I get to trade the peaches for a knife. Whereas having the currency, you can just sell the deer hides for the money and then go get the knife and cut all the middleman out of it. Oh, yeah. That sucks, man. Yeah. Worms will do that. And if you live in a really damp area, you might find silverfish, which are like, I think they're in the same family group as roly-polies and things like that. And they love paper. They will just eat paper. So, yeah, the idea of money is just that it expedites the barter system. But the barter system still technically exists. It's just the cash money makes it easy.
Or you can do something weird like that paperclip guy from Canada.
What was he doing?
He traded a paperclip up until he got a house out of it.
That's not weird. That's just being a good trader.
Yeah, he was good at trading. I just found it, odd that you could possibly do that.
Dude, in Kentucky, you can start out with a 12-foot John boat, and depending on how you finagle shit around, you can end up with like a bass boat.
There.
I mean, I know people who have done it, and I know people who've done the complete opposite too. You know, like a guy that is kind of related to me, Monty. I won't say his real name or anything. He started out with a bass boat and ended up with a 12-foot aluminum John boat with like an outboard engine on it. So, it wasn't that guy. It was another guy, but still same difference. You know what I mean? Because up there, because we don't actually live in a town. The collection of buildings that make up the area I live in is not a town. It's in the county, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Nice hat. I'm still waiting for my dark MAGA hat to arrive. Long shot. Yeah, I mean, red is kind of my favorite color. But when I saw Elon, flexing, plus my wife helped, buzzed my hair. And the good thing about it is it makes wearing a hat a lot more comfortable because, if prices are constant, there will be no inflation. Price is what you pay, value is what you receive. Right. And prices go up and down in a good system based on supply and demand. But we live in a system where the actual value of the money itself is being depreciated to the point that supply and demand of goods is secondary to the value of money, which is not the first time it happened.
No, it happens a lot. I mean, Weimar Germany,
Dude, it happened
colonial
back in the
America.
medieval ages.
Yeah.
There was a guy that was taking people's gold and giving them like paper notes because of it was easier to carry the paper notes.
Heck, Roman coins, they were shaving off a little bit of gold there just to make more
Yeah,
coin.
they used to clip coins and do all kinds of crazy shit. But what ended up happening is the guy gave out more paper notes than he took in gold. And then when people started wanting their gold back, he couldn't give it back. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because and it basically there was a medieval dark ages run on the bank, and the dude didn't have, this happened in like Arabia or somewhere, and the dude didn't have the money to give the people the money back. So of course they drug him in front of the king, and the king had him executed. But it was the first Ponzi scheme that we are aware of. So, like, the idea of a Ponzi scheme, that's not new. People have done it for like 1,000 years. But this guy definitely got done up because when they drug him in front of the king and told the king what he had done, the king was like, yeah, you are being executed. And that's what happened. So I guess the big message to everybody is don't do Ponzi schemes, because the second people ask for their money back and you can't give it back, in a fair world, you would not go to prison. They would just execute your ass. Like, what's his name? Both of them. I know you know who I'm talking about. The last two guys to pull off massive Ponzi schemes and rip people off for, millions and billions of dollars. Those dudes should not be in jail. Those dudes should have been hung in the town square to let everyone know, look,
That's what happens when you get caught doing it.
there's things you don't do. And a big thing you don't do is mess with people's money. Right? because as I've said multiple times, and this is my personal belief, and you're welcome to adopt it or not, your money represents your life because you exchanged time for money, and you only have a finite amount of time. So if someone steals your money, they're literally stealing part of your life. If they steal something you own, they're stealing however much of your life it took for you to earn enough money to buy the thing, right? So if I got a job, say at the fire department, where I made a whopping $11 an hour, and somebody steals a $50 role-playing game book from me, let's say, they have stole 5 hours of my life, and I will not get that back. Even if I get the book back, that might make it right. But if I never get the book back, that is 5 hours that I'm never getting. Yeah, inflation. And I forget who I was talking to about this. And inflation is a thing that never has to happen. It's a modern thing. Like the Romans really never had a problem with inflation. Costs would go up on goods 100%, but that was not because of the devaluation of the Roman denarii. That was because things were rare. And if something's rare, the price of it goes up. And the more common something is, well, then the price goes down. Super easy, right? Super easy to understand. Supply and demand. That is, at the end of the day, when you're talking about trade of any kind, whether you're a socialist, a capitalist, whatever you are, at the end of the day, the basic thing is supply and demand. Back on Starlink. So,
You want to hear a funny story about Starlink?
what about Starlink?
Well, apparently a naval officer decided to install Starlink on her ship. Well, not her ship, but the captain's ship.
The ship.
And well, was using it constantly on all the time.
Therefore, letting anybody who was looking know exactly where the ship was at all times.
Yeah, also hid it from everyone, including the captain. Oh boy, let's just say that she got in pretty big trouble there.
Yeah, she was probably posting some shit on Instagram.
Oh yeah,
Women live my best life as lieutenant, whatever. And it's like, bitch, you're going to get your ship sunk. What is wrong with you?
it's like, here's the thing: the idea of having Starlink, as long as you regulate it, would have been fine. Turn it off at most of the time, but allow it for if they're in safe waters. It would have probably been okayed.
I know if my nephew used Starlink on the ship he's on, he would immediately be out. He'd be gone because he's on a submarine and they don't F around. Romans devalued their money by less gold and silver. Well, the actual main currency the Romans used, which was used up until the 10th century in Eastern Europe, if you're talking East or Western Rome, not Eastern Rome, was the denarii, and it was made out of brass. I mean, it wasn't even made out of a valuable metal.
Nope.
It was made out of brass, and its value was basically whatever Rome said it was. Now, I don't know about Roman gold coins if we're talking Western Rome. I do know in Eastern Rome, they used gold and silver for a lot of their currency. So, yeah, that's the most I can say about that. So, you could be right, but when a nation starts devaluing its own currency, that's kind of signaling it's a
Oh,
huge
that cat.
signal that the nation is
It
in
wasn't the
trouble.
cable. It wasn't a cable that got her caught. It was her constantly lying about it because somebody actually seen it, told her about it, and she went, "Don't worry, it's like, don't worry, I'll get it settled." And then never told the captain. Then whenever the other officer started talking to her about it, she'd probably act a little bit weird, try to get them to kind of,
She's like, "Look, I'll give you a blowy if you don't say anything." I mean, this is the Navy we're talking about.
and they finally found out because some people were working on the ship found the dish itself and told the captain, in which the captain was not so happy about that.
Yep. Spain is a weird like thing to think about, Jose, because you would think in the current day that Spain would be the wealthiest country in Europe, and yet somehow they're not. So someone in Spain really mismanaged some shit because they were pulling gold and silver by the ton out of Central and South America, the
Yeah,
northern part of South America there, the
yeah.
Caribbean.
The
I
Spanish
mean,
treasure
they
ship,
were
man.
pulling it out by the damn ton. And oh no, you could be 100% right, mad. Um so did they just spend it all on stupid shit? Or did they like trade it off to pay for something? I don't know what in the hell they did with it, but I'm going out on a limb here and saying it wasn't smart. I mean,
Yeah,
and now they're one of the poorest states in Europe. And at one time, they had enough gold that they could have stacked that shit up as high as the Statue of Liberty. You know what I mean? So I
well,
I, I don't know. I don't know.
maybe they took the page book of 1940s America.
Just mass inflation.
Oh, I was talking about just spending the money on stupid things for no reason, like buying large quantities of milk just to make sure people produce more milk, or having like a cave full of cheese, apparently.
Well, we were doing the milk thing to keep the dairy farmers in business, so
Yeah,
that if and when we needed the dairy farmers, they would be there.
I
And the
know
cave
the
full of
reasoning.
cheese, that's like that's a military thing, bro.
Well, fair. Then there was the time that they decided people shouldn't be allowed to own gold at all.
Yeah, that was under the socialist FDR, I believe.
Yes,
Or was it Roosevelt?
it was FDR, but that's the same person. That's Franklin Delano Roosevelt. But you might be talking about
Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah, not
No, that
Teddy.
was,
Teddy wouldn't do that.
no, he
But
wouldn't.
yeah, that was the socialists that wanted to take everybody's gold away
Yep,
because gold is real money. So you don't
gold
want
has
people to
actual
have
value
access to real
and
money.
is useful.
Well, for some reason, people like gold. So,
Yeah, I think it also has like a
Roman had
practical use now.
slaves in the last 300 years of the empire, displacing employees. Yeah, that plus Roman citizens would leave, and then like the super rich people hanging back would like take their farms and stuff. And of course, we're talking about Western Rome, and it pretty much collapsed their economy. Sorry to cut you off there.
That's fine. I don't know what I was talking about anymore. I think it was FDR. or
Yeah,
something.
we're talking about how FDR is a snake.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a snake. People who think FDR was a good president are not people I would trust with anything.
Yeah. Oh man, it's pretty bad. The worst part is everything that he complained about his predecessor, he went and did 10 times worse.
Yeah, he was an absolute terrible person.
Because that was one thing. Hoover was not a free market capitalist kind of guy. He also was a very heavy-handed government centralist type of guy.
Well, there was a time back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, even when we had a lot of presidential candidates that were straight up socialists. They were pretending they weren't, but they were. And I mean, there was a period in the 20s where the socialists and the communists were openly running for political office. And a lot of people were liking it. You know what I mean?
I know, it's sad.
Like the guy who wrote the song, This Land Is Your Land, was a straight up communist.
That makes sense.
And, supported all that shit.
It's like
And,
what Norm MacDonald sounds like a lot of communist gobbledygook.
yep. Yep, that's what it was. They were straight up commies. Yeah, yeah. That was not the beginning of the end. That was the middle of the end. Because basically, Mad Cat, when they started, um, buying up all the land, and then you had it where like basically three people owned all the farmland in the Roman Empire in the West, at least. And then they started treating the citizens not as well as they could. And that led to the fact that the citizens stopped joining the military so much. So then they had to start allowing people who normally would have been um, auxiliary into the actual legion. I mean, the Western Empire was just mismanaged, and I mean, it started out really well, but a couple of bad emperors later, and yeah, it's a heaping pile of shit. The Eastern Empire existed until 1450 something.
Yeah,
A lot of people
quite a
don't
bit
know that.
longer.
Eastern Rome existed until 1400 and something. Western Rome collapsed in the 7th century or some shit. So, not that Eastern Rome was any better ran, it wasn't.
Like there were times where it was better ran or worse. It
It
depends.
depended on the emperor.
Yeah.
And the problem was that some Roman emperors were so concerned with their rulership that Sestari sounds super familiar, might be Roman coin too. But the denarii was like the basic Roman coin. And for the longest time, in the 9th and 10th century, it was still being used in Eastern Europe because it was like they weren't making their own coins. So they were still using Roman coins. Yeah, like okay, I like the story of Flavius Belisarius and Emperor Justinian. Justinian recognized that Belisarius was one of the greatest generals of all time after he crushed the Mongols. And so he sent him to reconquer Western Rome, which he did.
Quite
He
a bit of it.
landed on the south of the boot, and he marched his ass all the way to the north. He liberated Rome. He put a beating on the barbarians. Then he hopped over to Sicily and put a beating on their asses. Then from Sicily to South or North Africa, where he put a beating on everybody there. But the problem was the whole time he was gone, putting a beating on all these people for the emperor. People in the emperor's courts were warning him that Belisarius was becoming so popular that he might be able to challenge the emperor. So, no, it's Belisarius. Flavius Belisarius is the one who reconquered the Western Empire.
Yep, I know that it was Belisarius.
So Justinian had him called back to the court, and all of everything he had done to liberate Western Rome within 5 years is gone. And it was just like, and it was just jealous because you had your hangers on in the court. And if, you were out there doing anything like kicking ass or anything, these guys would be filling the emperor's head full of all kinds of crap so that he wouldn't trust you. And then, there you are.
Yeah. Think I'm gonna have to head off here though. I'll see you.
I'll see you, man. Thanks for hanging. But yeah, Belisarius. Quite possibly one of the greatest military minds of all time. General Belisarius. His first name was Flavius. Flavius Belisarius. Yeah, he defeated the Mongols by hiding his cavalry like behind a hill and luring them in. And the Mongols ran in, of course, to try to, do what they do and wipe out his infantry. And when they ran in to wipe out the infantry, his cavalry, who were other steppe tribesmen, so basically other Mongols, really, circled them, trapped them in, and then the legions completely crushed the invading forces. Yeah, it pretty much, that's just how it works. It's like, even in the anime Berserk, if you watch the anime Berserk, there's that one counselor who's constantly like trying to play everybody against everybody. Like, he's the one that tries to convince the prince to kill Griffin with poison arrows and all this shit. And he's just a little weedy dude who could never lift a sword or do anything, but somehow, because of his family or whatever, he's in a position to where he can have opinions in the court. So, he's playing it all off to get everybody to kill each other, basically. And it's just like, what a jerk, Calm the hell down, right? And that's the kind of shit that went on in the Roman Empire too, both the East and the West. But for me, because I've studied about the East a lot more, it's so sad because it's like every time you got a decent emperor and a decent military force, and the Eastern Romans started putting a beating on the Arabs or the Turks or whoever, the councilmen would always pull some shit, like some city would declare independence or something. So now you've got the emperor in the middle of a war with infidels, whether they're Turks, Mongols, Penichegs, whatever they were. And then you've got cities declaring independence from the empire, and then, you've got councilmen telling the emperor that he better watch out for the generals because they could be plotting even when they weren't. And it's just like, that's where the entire word Byzantine comes from. The word Byzantine means convoluted, and full of backbiting and whatever, right? So the empire was never called the Byzantine Empire. It was always called Eastern Rome. But because of the way they behaved, they later become called the Byzantine Empire because of how you're related to a pope. Neat. I know I'm not, because, my ancestors spent most of their time raiding monasteries and whatnot. So, you know how it is. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, Mr. Marine Corps? Yeah, but since I'm so much Norwegian, how many angels can pilot a single Balamac? Well, my 7th Merrick Militia guys all have the angel Saint Michael painted on them because that's what they do. And I don't know why exactly. I haven't even looked into why they chose that as their unit device, but it is the Archangel Michael descending from heaven with his flaming sword in hand. I can only imagine he's getting ready to put a beating on somebody, because, that is what Michael does. That's his whole job, So I guess maybe that particular part of the Merrick, free states or whatever, that particular world must be very religious. And Orthodoxy is one of the religions they say is relatively common in the Merrick Free Worlds League. Orthodox Christianity is their, like it says Christianity, but then when you read about it, says that it's mostly Orthodox. Because of, how many Romanians and Serbians. And I mean, the Free Worlds League and House Merrick is basically, I think the creator modeled House Merrick on the Balkans. You've got basically the Captain General, the Merrick, and he's basically like Tito. You know what I mean? Ruling over Yugoslavia. And pretty much every time he turns his back on somebody, they try to start a war. So, yeah, in a lot of ways, it's very similar to freaking the Balkans. except they keep beating the shit out of House Lao. And they're also not super fond of Steiner either. Not big fans of House Steiner. Because House Steiner's tried to invade them a few times. And they're not fans of House Lao because House Lao's weak and they can go in and take a bunch of House Lao shit. And there's nothing House Lao can do about it. Eastern capital city, Constantinople, which some people call Istanbul, but me and all my friends still call Constantinople, like IRL. And it will always be Constantinople. And one day the filthy Turks will be driven out of the city and it will go back to being called Constantinople. That is the prophecy that was given us by Saint Paisios, the saint of Mount Athos, that one day the Turks would be driven out. 1/3 of them would die, 1/3 of them would convert to Christ, and 1/3 of them would be forced to the east where they came from. Whatever that means. I mean, does that mean they're going to be forced to where the Uyghurs are? I don't know. But prophecies are like that, you know what I mean? There might have been something there. I don't know if it was called Byzantium or not. But it may have been. You could be totally right, Shark. But it's Constantinople. But yeah, it's the reason, like backbiting and all that shit is called Byzantine, because that's how they were, you know. Like Vladimir the Great, Prince of the Rus, how he actually, what led to his conversion is that the Eastern Romans were at war with some other group, and the city that belonged to the Eastern Romans in Crimea declared independence. So the emperor sent his men to Kiev, which at the time was the capital of Russia, and asked if the Kievan Rus would liberate the city for him, and offered gold and everything else like that. But Vladimir demanded the hand of Emperor Basil II's sister, Anna. And at first he wouldn't do it, but then, you know, he got desperate and decided to do it. So then the Rus marched down to the Crimean Peninsula, to the town. The name started with a C back then, but I think it's Sevastopol now. And they, after a little bit of a siege, they were let in by someone from within the city and conquered it without doing too much damage. So while they were staying in the Orthodox city, a priest pretty much convinced Vladimir that he could be saved from all of his past sins. I smell it.
We're about to eat.
Okay. I wish you would let me know these things when
I'm just doing it. You can smell it.
I can smell it, but baby, it's 1 o'clock.
You don't want it, I'll just give it, let Bear have it.
You better not let Bear have it. But anyway. So pretty much an Orthodox priest showed Vladimir how he could be saved through repentance, and Vladimir converted to Christianity. And then he told all of his officers and everybody he had converted to Christianity. They weren't all immediately super thrilled by the fact, but they eventually fell in line. And then he took Anna as one of his wives, and he marched back north to Kiev, where the entire population of Kiev was converted to Christianity. And actually didn't march north. He rode in a Eastern Roman dromond, as they're called, up the river. But anyway, and that was the spread of Christianity in, God wills it. That was the spread of Christianity in Russia. That's the whole story of it right there, which is why the Russians will never, ever in a million years give up Crimea. Because in the city of Sevastopol, Crimea, they have a gigantic bronze statue of Vladimir the Great. So that's very important to the Russians for cultural and religious reasons, right? I don't know if it holds the same importance to the current crop of Ukrainians who seem to be the enemies of Orthodoxy. But maybe it does. I don't know. My wife has cooked corned beef hash and eggs. And my dog is staring at me. What am I working on? Well, I put a bunch of... I meant to prime these guys, but instead I started painting some of the stuff that was on the table. So, I mean, like I've got this random knight here, and, you can see he's got that big shield up, but since his colors are yellow and black, I did yellow and black. And I have transfers that, I'll have to cut a hole out of or figure something out that I can put on his shield of like a boar's head or a dragon's head or something. I've also been organizing my Russian mounted cavalrymen. They are not technically part of the Druzina, but it is what it is, because my Druzina are here. Here are my Druzina. So I'll have to put something there, but yeah. These are metal, and I imported them from Moscow. The Druzina. I also have some boyars too, I believe, in metal that I should probably find and put to use for my in Saga, which I talk about a lot, guys, and this is the rule book. Saga. Let me take it out of the thing. This is the second rule book I own, because I ordered two, because that's what I always do. That way, when Hungar and I are playing the game of Gargamella, the Battle of Gargamella, he can have his own rule book in front of him, and I can too. So if we got any questions, we can be like on this page or that page, right? But how the saga system works is you play relatively small armies, like up to like 40, maybe 50 guys total. And activation is kind of random, kind of not. And, the game is split between an orders phase, an activation phase, the melee phase. There's a ranged and melee, and then resting and fatigue, because the more your figures fight, the tireder they get. And the tireder they get, the more they suck at fighting. So you kind of got to make decisions about, are you going to, send these men in to fight until they literally can barely walk anymore, and then they're going to get wiped out by fresh troops, right? So it's important to think about, rotating troops and things. The Russian army is all on foot if you play Russian pagans, which I could. I've got enough figures to play Russian pagans. But if you want to play Christian Rus in the time period, you have to play the House of Rorik, which is Vladimir's house. And they are almost all mounted on horses. The vast majority of them are. Because what they do is, the book I showed you, that's just a rule book, right? And then they have era books. So if you want to play ancients, you buy the ancient book, and it gives you every army list, like 30 army lists for the ancients, whether it's the Messene, the Jews, the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Macedonians, whatever it is. So, and if you buy the Dark Age book, then you get Vikings, Slavs, Carolingians in the West, Lombards, etc., the last Romans. And then if you go to the medieval age, that's when you get like your thematic Byzantines, your Crusaders, Arabs, Turks, etc. So if you were going to play this game, which, like I said, requires 40 or so figures total, depending on how you build your army. I've got a Viking army that's literally like 16 figures because they're all super elite. There's so much flexibility because you can also take allies. Like if you play the Macedonians, you can take Greek allies. So you can take Greek hoplites, you can take Peltists, you can take Thracians, you can take an elephant. So, I mean, every army is like that. If you play the Vikings, typically you can only play Vikings. They don't take a lot of allies. But if you play like the Byzantines, Eastern Rome, their list of allies is like half a page. You can take like Pinacheg horsemen, Bulgarians, Russians, Slavs, Scandinavians, whatever, so yeah, some armies are a lot more diverse, I guess, than others. So yeah. And then, of course, Dark Ages, you've got the whole the Britons, the Anglo-Saxons, the Franks, the Vikings. So, like, if you're a huge fan of like the Battle of Stamford Bridge, with Saga, you would use, I think, Dark Age, and it would be a battle between the Saxons in England versus the Vikings, the Swedes, I believe, or Norwegians, whichever one. There is a difference. Like if you get the Dark Age book, there's like 8 types of Viking that you could, Norsemen that you can play. You can play like Geats, Swedes, Norwegians, Danes, Anglo-Danes, Gaelic Danes, which are the Vikings that lived in Ireland. You can play them. You can play the Danes from the Isle of Man. You can play the Danes from the Isle of Skye near Scotland. You know, there's like lots of different kinds of Vikings you can play. You can play Picts. You can play Scots. So yes, tons of, like this right here. If I take away 2 men and make it an 8-man unit, this would be 1 unit of warriors for Saga. And the thing with Saga is you can have 4 to 6 points depending on what your opponent agrees to, right? So this 8-man unit of random Greek hoplites, that's a unit of warriors. So if you're playing 6, you could theoretically have like 5 units of hoplites and then a unit of peltas. And the other thing is, after you buy the units, so let me look here. I've got this unit sitting right here too, another unit of Greeks, right? So after you buy the units, right, now I've got 16 Greek hoplites that are warriors. Because they're warriors, I could say that I'm going to combine the 2 warriors into 1 unit of 16. So, you know, technically, instead of having 4 or 5 units of 8, I could have 2 or 3 units of 16. And then, you know, duke it out. And the same thing goes with like my Alexandrian army. I've got my Saricimen. These are warriors, right? So if I buy 3 units of warriors, that's going to be 24 men. And then I decide, do I want to fill them in blocks of 12? You know, or maybe one big ass block of 16, actually 24 guys, just, you know, no, I would split them into blocks of 12. They're the plastic ones. Like when I did the contest and somebody won Greeks, these are the Greeks. They were originally made by a history professor who paid his own money to get these sculpts built and made. And then later they were picked up by Warlord Games in England. You get 40 figures for $40. So it's $1 a figure if you like hoplites. And then, of course, if you're going to have Greek hoplites, you definitely got to have, you know, Persians, right? But my Persian Saga army, this ain't all of them. This is just a good portion of them is right here waiting to be primered and painted. Because the Persians use a lot of levy troops, which is like 12-man troops, but they're not very good. But the other thing the Persians use a lot of is elephants. For 2 points, you can get 2 elephants. So I'm going to open this box, build a couple of archers, cut them off of the puddle that they were molded onto, and mount them inside of this elephant. So it looks like there's at least 2 or 3 archers in each elephant, right? And the other thing is I've also got a chariot with Darius in it. I've got Emperor Darius in his chariot. Chariots are another thing that the Persians can take for X amount of points. It's up there somewhere. Let me see real quick. Hey, you guys are special, the guys in chat, because you see me wearing jeans. I almost never wear jeans. I almost always wear my freaking black with 3 white stripes Adidas. Those guys are not it. Also, this game has a book called The Realms of Magic, which allows you to play it fantasy if you want. So if you've got like a big collection of, like, say you used to play Warhammer Fantasy Battles and you decided that you're super pissed off about how Warhammer is misbehaving. See, here I've got a bunch of Greek hoplites. They're all painted up and ready to go. What they're doing in a Viking ship, I don't know. I just put them there. What else do we got over here? Well, of course, we got a Spider of Ling for all the H.P. Lovecraft fans. Spider of Ling. I don't know. We've got a Heavy Fighter for any sci-fi game. I haven't painted it. I haven't printed the clear. I have clear resin to print the windows. I just haven't done it because I've been busy. And I don't mean just with miniatures. I've been busy with lots of stuff. We've got a block of 16 more hoplites. So these hoplites all seem to have the shield with the gap in it, like the Bactrian shield. I wonder what that's about. I have some 3D printed mantis men that I can easily add weapons to and sci-fi gear and say, hey, look, Brusk from Star Frontiers. Cool, huh? Yeah, very cool. And then, of course, an elder thing because, again, Call of Cthulhu. Gotta have my elder things. Okay, so what is this? Let's pull it carefully out and see. Well, that's a broken spear is what that is. I'll have to replace that. This is a not complete unit of 8. Let's move this guy since, he's not part of this. This is an 8-man unit of Persian spearmen. Now, the shields are going to be all decorated. The thing about the Persians, especially in the time of Darius, is they really decorated all of their stuff. They were like, check out my fancy pants. My fancy pants got like spots and stripes and patterns on them. Because I don't know why, but this is a very, very small from enemy mine. It really should be much bigger to be in scale for that. But in any sci-fi game, you could just say this is like a single seat fighter and it would be 100% perfect. I mean, would it want to go against this guy right here? Probably not. But, a single ship spaceship for a role-playing game like Twilight 2000? Yeah, why not? But anyway, looking. I want to show you this before I log out. And I'm starting to get a little like, where the hell is it? It's not up here. Even though Alexander is, and I need to get to him at some point. I haven't painted his cape yet. It'll be purple. This is a gigantic spider I 3D printed from the Dragonbane Kickstarter. And as you can see, I need to do his base. Ding! So, and it's got a stinger on it too, so bad news. So is it here? No, I think I've already looked in here, haven't I? Damn, this chart, this one's heavy. But I don't see him. And now I'll be thinking about it. More Spiders of Ling. That's Amigo. The fun guys of Yaggoth. Yeah, I got a bunch of those. This is just a spaceship that you would be hanging in a locker somewhere. These are the Moon Beasts from H.P. Lovecraft's Dream Quest. Yeah, but I don't see Darius. Here is, and man, I have so many of these. I need to paint them and get them going. But this is a Chaos Dwarf with a blunderbuss. So, yeah, definitely need to get those guys done. But I don't see Darius anywhere. And that's a sadness. I mean, I got him on chariot and on foot, so he's somewhere around here. The guy I took off of the thing, this is a Tartarin. It's a kind of character that you could play in Talislanta. Basically, if you're the kind of person in D&D 5e that always wants to play a half demon, well, then you would play a Tartarin. Except, they got wings and shit. Here's my other elephant for the Persians. I wonder. No, it's not underneath the Talislantia character sheets. I know it's mounted on a big round base. Put the Talislantia character sheets up. It's not up here. Let's see. It's not up here with my 3D printed waifu. I need to paint her eyes, though. Or my UH1. This is a medic evac. Yeah. I've got gunship too, but this one's for evac. Where is Darius? There's all my Draugr. There's Raceland. Draugr. Goblin Slayer. Goblin Slayer. Let's make sure it's not behind the starship, huh? Wouldn't that be something? Be like, damn, it's right there behind the starship. But it's not. Okay. Damn it. I hate when I think I know where something is and then I don't. I mean, I got this one. I can show you so you kind of know what it looks like. But the problem is this is like 25 mil scale. You know what I mean? So I ended up having to scale it up and reprint it so that it just wouldn't look tiny compared to everything else. But that's what it looks like, guys. And where it could possibly be, well, maybe it's under here. See, my wife bought me, because my wife is amazing and awesome, a bunch of these plastic lunch trays like you used to get in school. And check it out. Here is Darius on his chariot. And then I've also got Darius standing on the ground on a big base with like a banner bearer and a trumpeter. Another thing on here that I really need to paint is the elephants. Or elephants. These aren't elephants. These are camels. I've got 8 of them because they are a troop choice. They're not elite. They are troop choice. So in addition to, see, the Persian army could actually be really big depending on how you filled it, because the majority of the things in the Persian army are levies. They're levy troops. They're so basically they're conscripts. And you can just be like, yep, whatever, and end up fielding just tons of them. They don't have as many what I would call warriors, and the only elite troops they really have is the immortals. So I guess you could fill the whole army of immortals if you wanted, but that doesn't seem very much in in keeping with the tradition of. Now, those of you who like Star Frontiers, that's not what I thought it was. Those of you who know the story of Baba Yaga and Vasilla the Beautiful, well, here's Vasilla the Beautiful. Yeah. I have Baba Yaga too around here somewhere. And I also have Ilya Muromets. So basically all of the Russian heroes from Russian mythology I have. I've got this robot, and this was a completely generic robot from Pat Skills. So I made about 8 of these. And I figure if I ever play sci-fi games, these guys would make like amazing guard robots, because they're like big, scary looking bastards. But anyway, now that I've found my Darius, I can log off, go eat my corned beef and eggs, and wish you all the best. Thank you for patiently watching me show off my collection. A Talislantia beginner's box would be amazing. And the next time I email the creator, Sechi, I will mention that. I am still, it won't be here today, obviously, because it's Sunday. I am still waiting on my Ultimate Edition books, which are supposedly being shipped or have been shipped or whatever, because I am like, I have the PDF, so I've already read them, but I want to hold them in my hand and look at the art and smell the paper and be like, and if I could get enough of my players on board, I would run me some Talislantia. You can count on that. Uh-oh. That's not good. That's not good at all. Okay, that's okay. Don't mind that. There was a sprue on the floor, and when I rolled my chair up, it rolled over it and cracked it. And I was like, oh no. But it's just an old spruce. So now I'm like, who cares? I'm all like, YOLO. I do what I want. I'm a bad girl. Where's the lid of my super glue? Right? Whatever. I do what I want. That's how I am. I'm like, whatever. I do what I want. That's a lie. It's more like whatever. I do what my wife tells me. Not because I'm not a manly man, but because it's just easier that way. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just easier to do the thing. But a beginner's box for Taslanta, that is an absolute genius idea, Jose, and should definitely be done. Even if they got to Kickstarter it or whatever to get it, copies on the shelves or whatever, that should be 100% done. There's no reason. And the thing is, there has never been a starter box for Taslanta. It's always been, here's the rule book, here's the bestiary, here's the guide to the world, go. And it's like, okay, that's all cool and all. But maybe if they came out with a starter box that was like, okay, let's, baby's first view of Talislanta, you know what I mean? Like, here's some starting characters, here's some starting information, here's a starting adventure, here's some tips for a DM running this game because it is so different from D&D. Then maybe some people, especially if the price point was right, some people might actually be willing to be like, hey, let's give this, because I'll tell you why 5e players don't flock to Taslanta, I'll never know. Because Dungeons and Dragons 5e, if you take all the woke shit out of it, it's basically just trying to be Talislanta, right? They keep adding all these weird species and races and whatever. Well, Taslanta's had like 100 playable things since the 80s. So it's like, if your heart is really set on playing a weird bird man, well, Talaslanta's got like 4 of them. You can pick. I mean, you can pick a green one, the blue one. You can pick the griff that looks like an eagle. I mean, if you want to fly, you can pick the Tartarin. They got wings. They can fly, straight up fly. If you want to play a high fantasy game, Talislanta is your shit because, I mean, that game is super high fantasy. Like, magic is not even uncommon in Talislanta. And there are still nation states in Talislanta, like Cimmeria and some of the other more magical ones, where they are making flying ships, right? Literally flying all over the place in these giant flying ships. And the thing is, unlike Eberron, which is kind of stupid and I hated, Talislanta makes a lot more sense because, well, I think in my mind it makes more sense because it's how it has always been, Like D&D started out a way and now they're changing it to be another way. And I don't like it. I'm like, this is bullshit. I like the old way D&D used to be, right? But Talislanta has always been the way it is. If you got a problem with, somebody in the group playing some kind of weird class, well, that's you got to get over it, Jack, because you know, that's just the way the game is. I mean, I would strongly suggest player characters sit down and actually talk to each other before just randomly making characters. Because what would happen if you had a character play like a Zingaran paradoxist and another character's playing like an Omnite. Of course, for some of you, you may be like, what the hell is he even talking about? But, you know, have another character playing like an Omnite, you know, Inquisitor or some shit. Those two character classes are not going to mesh because culturally they hate each other. I mean, with an absolute freaking hatred. They hate each other. So, yeah, you might want to figure out what kind of characters you're trying to play before you just start randomly making characters. Oh, man. Oh, there it is. Okay. As long as I got the part, I can fix it. So this is one I've started painting a little bit. You can see I'm going to have to neaten up the white. And one of the back thrusters broke off, but I got it right here. So I'll just set that right there. Anyway, I'm going to end this. It's been just at 2 hours, which is really good. As long as I don't have, I try to keep it at 2 hours unless I get people jumping in. Hey, Deckard. Yeah, Taslanta is just weird. It's just a weird, bizarre setting with weird, bizarre characters you can play. Like you can play a Tau assassin, and the Tau don't even come from Taslanta. They come from like the realm of death or some shit. So, you know. Anyway, later, guys. And so Restream's okay, I guess. It worked. Peace and love. And we will see you